Welcome back to the podcast. It all comes back to astrology. I'm your host, Abbie Brash.
And I'm your host, Lindsay Coffee.
And today we got, I don't know, an episode that I'm excited about, all about timing and astrology. I feel like I'm making this episode for like my younger self who always felt like they're never on time and like they were always behind. And so astrology's helped me so much to be like, no, everything's perfectly on time. So making this episode for my younger self and no one else.
Hell yeah. Baby Abby, let's go.
So yeah, there's this improv theater concept, make today the day, or today's the day that something changes. When you're going in an improv scene and you're like, where is this going?
Mm.
What's happening? Sometimes you're just like having a conversation and you're like, okay, we have 5 minutes on stage. Something needs to happen. One of my teachers at IO told me, today's the day that something changes between you and this person, your
Yeah.
scene partner. And so you can like make a strong statement of like, oh, I don't love you anymore. No, that's not a good one. That's not a good one.
I mean, that is the day that things will change.
Yeah, it's like instead of just having a scene where you're just kind of like, oh,
Mm.
everyday life, it's like, well,
Continuing
this
the
is, go ahead.
continuing the cycle, continuing the loop, continuing the mundane.
Yeah, instead it's like today is the day in this person's life that everything changes. It's just like setting the stakes higher. It's like
Is it?
heightening.
Yeah, it's an excellent concept for all of life.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know. I found it to be helpful. I just liked that concept a lot of like today's the day. It felt very like Carpe Diem-esque, you
Yeah.
know? And I think it's a really fun concept for improv.
And it immediately sounds hopeful to me because
Hmm.
it's so grounded in the present and it's so like it's just like giving honor to the present moment.
Yeah. And that's like what improv's all about is like being fully present. And
Oh,
yeah, just like finding ways to make whatever that, like you had said, whatever the cycle that's been going on for a long time, like make
yeah.
that change. And sometimes it's just fun to find that, or I like being a little bit of a gremlin and being like, okay, how can I totally like shock this person by saying like, oh, I'm in love with your brother or something like that,
Yeah.
like in an
I'm a
improv scene.
gremlin.
Yeah, as long as you know you're yes-anding your scene partner.
Mm.
But I don't know. I love talking about improv and theater and stuff. And so you had done some improv, Lindsay, right?
Yeah, I did improv as a kid, at the DCPA when they had like a bunch of classes. I would do summer classes and I think it really informed how I socialized as a child. And it was a lot of like if it was a lot of social skills that I think everybody could benefit from improv because I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I just think it was just really helpful for me to grow up. And like
Grow up.
well, like just learn how to interact with others, be in the present moment, play games, be like an imaginative self that is so helpful to have through your whole life.
Yes. I mean, the first concept of improv, yes, and of like building on the world that
Uh,
you're creating with someone and adding your own ideas into that
yeah.
world and like all the ideas are valid.
Mhm.
It just like blew my mind when I started doing improv like 3 years ago. I was like, oh my God, all my
Yeah.
conditioning that life has forced me to like harden and close up and like not
Yeah.
share ideas and not bring my ideas to the table and not let people see me and feel hostile around other people. It's like improv is like, no, like open up and let people see you
Yeah.
and you see them. So
So the yes and concept is when somebody brings an idea to the scene, first of all, you welcome it by yes, you go along with it. Anytime you say no, you're like shutting down and you're cutting off growth. It's like the snipping of the scissors. And so the yes and is like you say yes and you contribute your own elements to the scene. Your yes and this is just allowing everyone to have their own independence and safe space of creation while also contributing and not like cutting off growth. It's just, yeah, it's a really good way to see life.
I think that's really well said. We have officially trapped whoever's listening into thinking we're going to talk about astrology, but we're just trying to get them into the cult of theater. Um, no, but why we brought this up besides the fact that I love how improv's been so helpful for my
Yeah.
life and for Lindsay's life. So the concept of like timing in life, I feel like the whole like make today the day, like make something
Mm,
change is so great in improv, but
yeah.
like it doesn't work in real life. But so I'm about to go back on everything I just said.
Okay, sorry. Wait,
No,
yeah.
no, no.
Like
Uh,
it's this is the moment things turn. This is like the alchemy moment. This is the break. This is the you can't have it every day because we're humans and we're living our lives. Like
mhm.
or can we? I guess. Can we make every day the day something changes? How drastic is the change, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think with astrology, it's like, okay, when is today the day? You
Okay.
know, astrology can help you point out, well, is today the day? Or is
Mm,
today the day to do something else? The concept of make today the day is like really awesome in like theater. And I think that's a good thing to kind of keep in mind in your regular life of like when you want to make changes. But something I like about astrology is that it shows us that every day might not be the day to make every single change
mm,
that you want to make. If like make today the day is like your mantra for your whole life, it's
mm,
like that sounds exhausting.
mm.
And it does, yeah, give a little bit of grind set vibes. So have you not
I
heard
love that.
grind
That should
set?
be a hashtag.
People say grind set. That's,
Oh, they do?
yeah, I didn't make that up.
In an ironic way? Or in they're being
I don't know. I
serious?
think they're serious. If you use grind set, comment and let us know if you're serious or if you're joking.
That has to be a joke, but obviously it's
No, it's like your mindset is grinding.
Oh,
Grinds.
okay, clever. Props.
Now I'm scared that I didn't use that correctly. Yeah, the grind set of every day's got to be the day. I'm curious, Lindsay, what's kind of like your
Yeah.
relationship with like time and timing in life?
I feel now looking back, like, oh my God, I'm a late bloomer. I didn't do all these things I was supposed to do because I didn't know I was supposed to be reaching certain milestones at certain ages and this birthday means this, and sweet 16 means this, and turning 18 means this. I was just living life like a blind bat. I was just like, whatever, I'm 18. I don't really know what that means. I just know that this is like how I'm living. And now my mindset with social media and like being hyper aware of what I'm supposed to be doing can feel crippling. And so it feels like at least ignorance is bliss when you're young, but when you're older, there's just this pressure that can become paralyzing if I feel like I'm off schedule with my peers.
See, this is what I think like you and your younger self, I think that's how it should be. You know,
Yeah.
like you're like, no one told me I was a late bloomer. I'm like, good.
No one told me I was supposed to do everything.
Everyone told me I was a late bloomer.
No, no. No. I think, really? See, that's
Yeah.
heavy, the pressure.
See, I think you were doing it right by just doing your thing and not caring. Because there isn't
But it
really,
hit so hard later on. And I think
mm,
I think I actually, to play devil's advocate, I think I did miss certain milestones. It would have been helpful to have a little bit of a guidance, like a little bit of an
mm,
astrology direction. It would have been helpful to have a little bit of structure, like
this is what you do on your Sweet 16, Lindsay.
really, I'm serious, like something that's like,
That's so interesting because I'm like, no, you're doing it right by just like not caring. It's like the,
yeah, it's a balance, I wonder.
but I don't know. I guess you're the one on the inside experiencing or feeling like you
It hit me
missed.
harder later on because I was like, why didn't anyone tell me? I don't know. It's just,
I'm
I guess
curious what
it is what it is.
milestones you feel like you've missed, but maybe that's too much sharing for the pod for you. I don't know. How, or I mean, like, how do you feel
There-
about me being like, what
Uh,
milestones did you think you missed?
Any.
Many.
But yeah, let's continue.
This just becomes a like therapy
A
vent
therapy
session.
session.
I mean, it kind of is for both of us a little bit.
Yeah.
I That makes me
But it's,
sad that you felt that
oh, well,
about
I think,
being like, oh, I missed things, you know?
well, the problem is now. The problem is like now that I'm so hyper aware of timing, I'm like, my God, I don't want to continue. I want to make sure I'm doing what I'm quote unquote supposed to be doing. So I guess what's your relationship with time and how do you feel about it now versus then versus
Hmm.
with astrology?
Well, I always felt like I was a late bloomer. I was always told, Abbie, you're not supposed to be playing outside with the neighbors anymore. You're supposed to
Oh,
be
Abbie. Yeah.
like a teenager.
Especially for little girls are still little girls. Like you forget how young you are. I did
Mhm.
that too. I was like playing outside, playing with my stuffed animals and my things for a way long time.
Yeah, I
I
was
wasn't
like,
interested in makeup. Who gave a shit about that? I was like, la la la. Let me create a sticker world. That's my life.
oh, I wish we had each other in high school and middle school, and that would have been fun. Because yeah, I had a couple of close friends. Rachel and Victoria were my closest friends growing up, and I felt like I could be myself around them, but like, in school, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be like
Mhm.
this. I don't have boobs yet, but
Oh
that
yes.
never happened. No. Okay, we can cut that out. No.
Honestly, that's kind of iconic because it does like I really do think when you like start developing changes a lot of your how you perceive self and others
Yeah, I
or
was
how
just,
others are reacting to you too.
yeah, I was told a lot like that I was immature. And I mean, maybe by just a couple people, but
Yeah.
I always felt behind. And this, like, as a kid, but also especially into adulthood, like,
Mm.
you're going through college and you feel like, oh, I'm on track, I'm going
Mm.
somewhere. And
Mm.
then everyone goes their own ways. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, should I have moved to LA and done the whole film thing? So I went to film school. But then
Right.
after 5 years, I switched and started doing massage instead.
Hmm.
And I've always you know, felt like I wasn't on time
Mm.
and I needed to hurry up and get things done. Why couldn't I get things done? Why wasn't I motivated to do this? Why am I not like super successful by 30? Like it's
Yeah.
just, and that's what astrology has been so helpful for because everyone's on their own personal timeline at all times. And so I think Linz, maybe this episode will be a little bit for you too,
Yeah.
because maybe you can help kind of like look back and see kind
Mm.
of the bigger picture and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't literally until like maybe this year where I'm like, oh, everything's on time. Um, it's like a recent thing I'm realizing, For a really long time, I wanted to move and it just was not happening. Like moving cities. I was in Chicago for 14 years. And I was like, I've been here for too long. I need to move. Everyone I know has lived in multiple places and I've been in one place and I felt really like insecure about that. And it was something I really wanted. But then I finally moved this year to Seattle. And looking back, it's like, oh, my last like 2 years in Chicago were the best years out
Uh,
of all 14. There's people I had to meet there. Like if I had left when I wanted to leave, I would have never done improv.
mm.
So, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, oh, fate, everything happens for a reason, but also it just wasn't the right time. And I
Right.
just didn't know that at the time. But if I did know-ish, I could have maybe chilled a bit more. But I was a little like in 2022, I was like, like
Yeah.
very kind of stressed about it. So there's a few different timing techniques you can use in astrology. Well, there's quite a few. You can definitely deep dive into different timing techniques.
And this has to do with everybody's personal chart, right? So if anybody wants to look up their timing, they would pull up their natal chart and
Yeah,
then
so
go, okay.
I'm gonna link to different things in the show notes and in the video description.
Okay.
So I'll show you kind of shots of the websites where you can find this specifically. Yeah, and if you have like astrology software like the Chani app, those are always helpful for seeing your chart, but I'll have some links to free software you can find all this stuff because I want it to be very digestible for the people, because it
Yeah.
can be, you can go on a crazy deep dive like me, but if you're like, I want to know, but I don't want to spend hours and hours and years
Yeah.
researching, then this is a good place to start. There's astrology happening every moment of every day.
Hmm.
Planets are in certain positions in certain signs, and you can interpret that in certain ways. And that can definitely affect us, but I think there's sometimes like a misunderstanding of like everything that's happening is affecting us on a super personal level all the time when it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
Um,
And you can get caught up in the drama of that, which can get a little dangerous, I think.
yeah, yeah, that's why I like using, so I study Hellenistic astrology,
Yeah.
and there's some specific timing techniques that are a bit more on the symbolic side,
Mhm.
but
Cool.
they really can like resonate deeply. And so, yeah, there's like stuff happening in the sky that's good to pay attention to that I'll probably talk about a little bit. But there's also ones that are more personal to you. It's more like,
This is gonna
where am
affect.
I personally?
Yeah.
And then how is that affecting like me personally? Does that
Cool.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna share my screen. Wow.
Yay. Let's
So
go
excited.
there. Let's go.
Yay.
Let's go, learning zone.
This is a screenshot from a website.
Sweet.
Not going to be a fancy slideshow. So if you're watching on YouTube, you will see, I'll try to describe for the non-YouTube watchers what they're looking at is the Progressed Lunation Cycle. And so if you're familiar with the moon phases, those are, I feel like, the easiest thing to like follow in the sky. It's literally changing. Like every day you can see moon gets full and then moon gets dark, new moon, full moon. So we're each born into a moon phase. We're each born obviously during sometime during the moon cycle. But there's also a symbolic moon cycle that we're in like at all times throughout our life. That's over a longer 30-year cycle. Are you familiar with this, Linz?
No. So, no, go on. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. So it like I won't get into like the nitty gritty of behind like the meaning behind or like how you calculate it. But there is like an if you really are like, I want to know more about the lunation cycle, there's a great podcast episode that I will link in the show notes from the astrology podcast that does like a 2 hour episode on it. But this is kind of like a little taste of it.
Cool.
So you're like born into a moon phase, right? And like that's where you're
Abby, can
like,
you, sorry, can you give an example? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, I was born
yeah,
when
yeah.
it was like I'm a full moon baby versus
Mm-hmm.
I'm a new moon baby versus I'm a
Yeah, so basically, like if when you were born you could fully see the moon, you're a full moon baby, the most basic, easiest to pick up on
the werewolf babies.
werewolf. But how to kind of figure that out in your astrology chart? Easiest ways, like if your sun and moon are opposite signs, that's a full moon.
Cool.
Um, and then you can always, like look it up on the calculator.
And they each
But
have assigned meanings. Like this might influence you in this way, or this
yeah.
might influence you to become a werewolf, something like that.
Yeah, the werewolf influenced
Okay.
one.
I
Yeah, so
I
it's
want to be a full moon baby. That sounds fun.
it sounds like it sounds like too much for me. But I'm always like, wow, when I found out someone's a full moon baby, like my husband has like three of his out of his like six family members are full moon
Oh,
babies.
really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And
Cool.
when I tell them that, they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. That's kind of cool. So it's kind of a good entrance into astrology is just knowing what moon sign, not moon sign, yeah, moon
Yeah.
sign, but like what moon phase you were born under. So there's 8 phases of the moon that happen over like 30 days ish. And there's a bigger cycle going on symbolically that
Mhm.
started when we were born that is happening over 30 years.
Cool.
So you're in a specific moon phase for like a couple of years. And so it's a much bigger picture on things, but it can be so helpful to kind of understand where you are in the greater phases of your life. And so what I've got pulled up here on my slideshow is it's from AstroSeek. So this is like a free calculator, and we'll have this linked in the show notes. But you can find out what progressed lunation cycle you're in
Mhm.
by clicking on this section of the website. putting in your birth info. You can calculate it on your own, but that's a lot more time consuming.
That involves.
So easier to just be like, where am I right now? Or you can choose what year too. So it'll kind of tell you where you are. So I'll kind of like go through what the
Cool.
different phases mean. A book that I really love that I've gotten a lot of information on this from is by Demetra George called Astrology and the Authentic Self. It's like my kind of like my Bible.
Yeah, let's
It's
go.
yeah, I love that book. And so she talks a lot about moon phases, and that's something, as a Cancer moon, I love the moon phases. So it got me really into it. But
Mm,
the new moon, the dark moon, when it's like dark in the sky, can't
mm,
see anything.
yeah.
That's the new moon when the moon is like reborn. That's the start of the cycle.
Mm,
And so the new moon represents new beginnings, planting seeds. A few words from Demetra George's book. She says, incarnate, emerge, and project. Being in a new moon phase is about starting new things. It's kind of like the seeds planted, right? If we're thinking of like a plant's life cycle, comparing to like the life cycle of a plant, it's
yeah.
like the seeds in the ground, it's germinating, it's growing roots, but we haven't seen the plant yet, but it started. Even if we can't see what's happening on the surface, there's stuff going on underneath. So the new moon phase is really like it's dark. We don't know. We don't see. We
Mm.
think we put our intentions out there. We're starting new stuff, but we haven't necessarily like seen the results yet. So that's what like a new moon phase can feel like.
You see a lot of things online, like this is the moon where you want to start something for that
Hmm.
month, if you're going to start something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of like spell work and witchy things like
Yeah,
that, or putting your intentions in like out to the world. Like the new moon is usually a
a
good
good.
place to start because that's where it's starting over. And so then after the new moon is the crescent moon. And that's like, if you compare that to the cycle of the plant, it's like the seed is like starting to sprout and it's
Mm,
like pushing through the earth, but it's like really small and it's like pushing against gravity. And so the crescent moon can be a lot to do with like struggle. It can
yeah,
be a lot about like you're putting in the work, you're trying.
you're doing the reps.
Yeah, the words are overcome, focus, move forward. So
Mm,
it's like, okay, which of these seeds that I planted are actually germinating? Which do I want to put my energy into?
mm,
And how am I being like met up with challenges, but
yeah.
pushing forward with it? So that can be like some crescent vibes. I'm not looking forward to that phase. I'm in a new moon phase now, but we'll talk about that.
Okay.
And then the first quarter is like the next phase. So we're starting to see the moon get a little bit bigger towards that like 90 degrees.
Mhm.
And that's when things are like gaining momentum. The plant's getting bigger, but it's not at full bloom yet. And so it's really about like building, growing, like establishing structures and foundation so that it can support like the bigger mission or like the higher goal. So
Yeah.
the words for that are like decide, act, build.
This feels like a really safe container. Like it just feels like so natural and feels good to see time like this in the natural world where
Yeah.
time to grow.
Yeah, and it's like it's funny, I don't know if like you notice this in life, like sometimes I'll like really feel the moon phases in the day to day. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, the full moon, I'm like so wired. And other times I feel a little more disconnected, but sometimes during the
We've
full moon, Dakota plays really well in soccer, or he's like, soccer was so intense today when he
Oh
plays
my
soccer.
God.
And I'm like, it is a full moon. Everyone's out letting their testosterone out.
Yes. Well, and that's what's so cool is when you, as an aside, like like women's periods syncing
Hmm.
up with different parts of the moon cycle is fascinating to me. I think now people are trying to work out based on their cycle, which is also kind of can be seen like the moon, and like it's so fascinating to start layering the natural world and then women's natural cycles. It's just so cool to me.
Yeah, it's like how we like mark time,
So
right?
cool. Yeah,
Like,
we can talk about the calendar too, how the calendar
hmm.
marks, like the
Yeah.
calendar was really marking the feminine cycle.
Hmm. Yeah,
Don't learn
absolutely.
about like
We're just
that's
like
all
go,
been
go, go
buried,
all the time. Make today the
right?
day all the time.
It's all been
Um,
buried, but timing was originally around these natural phases. This is just getting us back to the roots, really, when we're talking about this. This is so cool.
Yay. I'm so glad that you're liking it
Yeah.
because it's like just such a great way to start with astrology. It can be so
Mm,
overwhelming, all the
yeah.
different things. And it's like just start with the moon phases. Look up in the sky. You can see, you don't have to look in your app. You can look up in the
Yeah.
sky and see what the
And
moon's doing.
Abby, it's so real because it's like when you and I are sitting down looking at this right now, it's like, okay, cool, I'm learning about it, but I know it's real effects. Like there's real statistics about the full moon, like hospital rooms get
Tides.
crazy during the full moon, or like this going wiry when it's the full moon, and it's like there's real connection.
Hmm.
There's
This
real
is real.
effects.
It's as real as it
Oh,
gets.
this is real.
I had my improv level one student showcase on the full moon in Gemini.
Oh
It
my
was such a
God.
good show. It was such a good show. And I was like, full moon in Gemini in my 11th house of like friendship. I was like, it's
Chest.
great. Not every show is great. I'll tell you that. Some shows are really bad. So when it's a good show, it's like, hell yeah. So that was the first quarter. So
Right?
we did new moon, crescent, first quarter.
Mm.
And then like this is before the full moon. It's like we're almost there. That's the gibbous moon. And that's the words for that are like evaluate, analyze, and perfect. So it's like you have the momentum, you built the structure, the plant is like growing, about to blossom. And it's like, okay, what needs to change so that I can have that bigger dream or vision that started in the new moon? What isn't really quite working? What do I need to like tweak a little bit? What am I thinking of? I'm thinking of like building a
Uh,
house or something. And you're like getting to the end phases. It's almost done, but you're like, oh, I thought this like color would look really good in this room when I like imagined this. And now I'm
yeah,
like, oh wait, I think actually I want to do this color instead
yeah.
on this wall. That's kind of the vibe of like gibbous moon. There's a
Mm,
lot more like energy. It's almost a full moon. It's like you're getting excited and amped up for the thing, but then some
that
things might need to
final.
be tweaked. And then we have the full moon, which is all about realization, fullness, manifestation, culminate, illuminate, fulfill. It also has a lot to do with like how you're relating in the world, like with other people. So a lot of times full moon people, according to Demetra George's book, a lot of times here to like work with other people, have relationships with other people. I mean, we all are, right? We're all like
But they were
here
born.
doing that, but that's part of it. They're born for it. Yeah, like it's really like everything's seen, right? It's like the fullness of like the realization of the thing that you started at the
Hmm.
new moon. This is the moment where it's like the thing has happened, the thing has reached fullness.
I would be so curious to know if this would layer on top of the karmic lifetimes. And I would wonder if
Lens.
a full moon baby is in like a really pivotal full circle karmic lifetime, this life. Like this life is like a real showcase of many lifetimes.
Lens.
What?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You're the moon phase you're born under
Stop.
in Demetra George's book.
I
Um,
feel that, and I feel that so deeply. Really, that's what
like
he says?
yeah, yeah, it's like
Excuse
it
me.
represents like the moon phase you're born under represents where you are in the greater cycle of lifetimes, if you believe in reincarnation, which
Which
obviously I
I
do.
do, but
It's
wow,
like where you are in the greater scheme of like
obsessed,
multiple lifetimes. Um,
obsessed. That just naturally makes so much sense. That's so crazy.
and that's like the first thing I talk about when I do like a natal chart reading with someone. I'm
Mm,
like talk about the moon phase they're born under, and what that can mean for them and how that theme can kind of show up in your
mm.
life, how you kind of like embody that moon phase within you.
Wow,
So
this is
yeah,
such
you're
a
right on spot.
treasure. This is a gemstone of astrology that doesn't get. This is the advanced astrology stuff.
But it's also the most basic, you know what I
It,
mean? It's
yeah,
like advanced, but it's not, it's also just like
very
look outside and you can see.
But isn't that the beauty of like the most intelligent things are can be simplified in such a beautiful way? Like E equals MC squared or whatever. It's like you can have the most complex topics and the true intelligence is just in the simplicity of it.
I have no idea what E equals MC squared means, so maybe it's simple and I just don't know what it is.
Okay, let's move on.
No, I totally agree
It's
though.
Einstein, I
It's
think.
it's
Oh my
it's
God.
like, oh, it's an Einstein theory. Okay, we're gonna
Yeah.
have to cut all this out of me
Yeah.
knowing anything about Einstein. I only know about astrology and magic, okay?
Well, it's just an example, like something that can be so complex. Like the earth is so complex. All of life is so complex, and yet it's so simple. Like a blade of
Mm.
grass is can be
Mhm.
so complex, and like photosynthesis is wild. And it's just like the most simple stroke of nature. And you're just like, what?
I think
What's
you're spot on with that. Yeah, I totally agree. So after the full moon,
mm,
everything's kind of manifested however it
wow.
has. Next is the disseminating moon. I don't know, I had trouble saying that. Disseminating moon.
Yeah.
And that's when the moon's starting to decrease in light. So we've reached the fullness, and now we're starting to, moon's starting to get, appear to be smaller to us. And
Mm,
so that could be a lot about we're harvesting fruit from the plant. All the work that we put in, it came to fruition, and now we're kind of getting all the like good stuff. Maybe some not so good stuff depending on what it is, but like that's
you're just getting
when
the stuff.
you're just getting a lot of stuff. But it is, yeah, about either sharing your message of like maybe what you have realized. But yeah, picking the ripened fruit, enjoying the fruits of your labor kind of thing.
Mm,
Like we're enjoying, we're sharing. Kind of reminds me of like yeah, like the harvest season in the fall, like before,
mm,
everything starts to kind of die. It's like end of the summer. It's like you're
yeah.
harvesting all the good. Um, and so the words for that are distribute, disseminate, convey. You're embodying the things from the full moon. So yeah, it's a lot about like sharing, conveying messages. So the last quarter, so you've embodied and you've like, lived out your thing, you shared your message. And it's
Mm,
similar to the first quarter in that like we are, it's about like reevaluating, making changes and revising. So maybe you're seeing like, oh, what worked? What didn't work? What do I need to change? Um, it's a lot about adjustment and seeing what's no longer working and
yeah.
kind of looking towards the future. So you might start to have those like visions about, okay, well, what do I want to do next cycle? Like you're starting to think maybe about the seeds you want to plant for the new moon, but you're still very much in like the results from the like full moon and from the
Yeah.
seed that you planted right in the beginning. And then the last moon phase is the balsamic moon phase. I got it right here. My dear friend's son
Yes.
tattooed this balsamic moon on me.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know that that's what that was. That's so cool.
Balsamic moon and rosemary. So the balsamic moon is right before the new moon. It's the dark moon. It's about distilling, transforming, and envisioning for the future. So there's a
Wow.
lot of like death, letting go, decomposing,
Mm,
really preparing for what's next, like in like kind of a releasing, letting go kind of way. You're fertilizing the soil to prepare for the new growth. So yeah, if the
cool.
last quarter is more about decay, the fruit's gone off the tree. Plant is losing its leaves,
That makes
decaying.
sense for me.
Fruit's gone, Linz. It's a cycle about completion with the balsamic moon. It's about resolving, completing the past, making peace. So they kind of say, I mean, this is more like if you're born natally with a balsamic moon.
Mm,
But a lot of times you're like meeting people from, they say like from past lives and trying to like resolve those disagreements and or issues from the past. So
yeah.
it can be very like karmic lifetime. But when you're in like a progressed balsamic phase, there's a lot of like ending, letting go, like getting ready for what's next. And then you come back to the new moon. So you plant the seeds. I feel like it's like you plant a bunch of seeds and you're like, I don't know which ones, or like the I don't know which one's gonna come up, which ones are gonna
Yeah.
sprout. But like the soil is tended to. All the lessons that I've learned from all the cycles are like gonna prepare me for the next one.
So just to be clear, you can be born under one of these moons, which
Mhm.
has meaning. And what we're talking about now, the progressed lunation cycle, is that as we travel through life, we're progressing through all of these phases multiple times throughout life,
Yeah,
which connects to the timing of our lives.
exactly. Yeah. So if you're born under a new moon, that's when your progressed moon starts. But it's instead of over, like
Mm,
however many days, it's over 30 years. So
cool.
it's a much longer cycle. This is where you'd calculate it. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see just a screenshot from AstroSeek, but there'll be links so you can check it out yourself. Let me click. Okay, so whose are these?
Whoa.
These are mine. Okay, yeah, this is what an example of what you'll see. If you put like the start years, like your birth year, it'll show when each moon phase happened. And there are ways of calculating it on your own, but I don't
Yeah,
even do
we recommend a
that.
automatic calculator.
Yeah, if you're like an astrologer, you can do that. Um, so yeah, these are like my moon phases, and I just kind of wanted to like talk a little bit about them,
Yeah.
reflect a little bit. So I underlined the ones I was most interested in. So in July of 2010, I was in a full moon phase. It's giving like I peaked in high school, but I
Oh
didn't
my
peak in high
gosh.
school. That's what's so annoying.
But
No,
that's for full moon. It's just like that was a time of full moon clarity. Does it mean you peaked? Your next peak is where? 2040? You have time.
I'm working my way there. I just remember I knew I was like, I'm going to film school. I want to be a Hollywood cinematographer. Just
God, to have that sense of direction in high school, though. That's the gift. That's the
it's
gift.
a gift and a little bit of a curse. Again, it's high school. It's like you have so much direction. And I feel like I knew what I was doing
Cool.
and like I knew my direction and I was having a lot of like really good experiences and I
Hmm.
mean it wasn't all great but it was
Yeah,
like
but
this was like end of high school and college for me and it's so interesting that like my last quarter was in 2018 because that's when I started to not like film so much and think about switching.
oh
And I
wow.
didn't realize that until like 3 days ago when I was prepping for this and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, it's even more true than I even thought."
So visually apparent looking at this.
Yeah, it was like 2018 is like when I think September 2018 is when I got a job at a juice bar because I
I
had
remember
gotten,
that. I remember
you
you
remember?
calling me and you were like, you were searching. You were searching.
You remember? That's
Yeah,
sweet.
I remember because you really wanted to move around then too, I think.
Yeah, that's when the like moving desires were really starting to kick in. And I like started working at a juice bar. I got fired from a job, which was so traumatic. Fired
Oh,
from my job working on a documentary television show American Greed. I'm like, shall not be named. I'm like, why not? They fired me for stupid reasons, but I don't want to get into it. But it was really traumatic for me because it was like out of the
oh
blue. I
yeah.
didn't expect it. I
Yeah.
like felt so
It's
lost. Yeah,
really,
it sucks.
especially when you're like your intentions are there and
Yeah, like it wasn't a good fit for me. I knew I needed to make a change, but I was like really unwilling to. Also, like Uranus
in
moved into my 10th house of career. Then I got fired, which is a whole other thing we're going to talk about another time. But
yeah.
it's just interesting. It's like at that point, I was starting to make a change. I was starting to like see what was and wasn't working
Mm,
and felt the need to like make some changes. And then balsamic phase, which I realize is on here twice on the screen. My balsamic phase started in 2022 and ended this year. And in
wow.
2022 is when I was like, I need to move. I need to get out of here. I need to
Yeah.
make a change. It's just so crazy. It was around that time, like I got back from my honeymoon end of March in 2022, and I was like, I'm moving to London. Because we went to London, I loved London, and I was just like, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I knew it was like really hard to like move without a job there. Like it wasn't
Dream.
yeah, it was like a dream that I was really fixated on
Mm,
for like a few months. And then I was like, no, I want to move home to Rhode Island. And I was really like having a hard time for like a minute. It was also my Saturn return, but I
wow.
didn't realize how much death and decay was
Wow.
like going to happen in my like day-to-day kind of life.
But can I
Balsamic
mention,
phase. Yes.
it's so important to see it in this way because going back to us riffing off the freaking grind set, like we need to know that death is a part of life. And it's so uncomfortable because who wants to die? Like, it's such, but it's natural. It's natural. Death is inevitable. It's natural. You can't stop it. You can't grind your way past it. You can't grind your way over it. Okay? It's just, again, this is good to see because this is the natural world. This is like natural phases of life. It's such a visual gift.
I was so annoyed because I was like, I'm in my 20s. I'm supposed to be like
Mm.
making it big or whatever that means. And it was just so much like change and trying to figure it out and so much like decrease in energy. And I was
Yeah,
like trying to find an increase. How can I get more energy? And like I had some energy, but it just
because
wasn't like, yeah.
because it's like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yep. It's so easy to just compare yourself to other people. And I
Yeah.
love that astrology and like the progressed lunation cycle are an example of, oh no, you're right on time for yourself.
Mm.
And that's something I want to say to everyone here
Really
is
comforting.
you're exactly on time. Okay. Forget about everyone else around you.
Yeah.
You're exactly where you need to be. It sounds cliche, but you're on time and things are going to happen when they're supposed to happen. Little PSA. But yeah, a lot of death and decay. Well, it's just funny because like the balsamic phase is like endings. And I didn't fully know this until like beginning of this year. Everything was wrapping up so quickly. I felt this sense over the past couple of years of like my time in Chicago is coming to an end. I just didn't really know when. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I was tying up all these loose ends. I really felt like once I took improv and took the astrology class and met my wonderful like coworkers and friends that I had completed that cycle. But it's like those things needed to happen. I needed to meet those people and have those really special like last couple years in Chicago. And now I'm in a new moon phase and I feel like a little baby. I'm like, I don't know. Everything feels brand new. Like I had to start my entire massage practice over and it's scary.
You're in the dark again. You're in the like literal and figurative dark
I'm
again.
just in the dirt and I'm like, I hope this
In
dirt
the
is
dirt.
gonna nourish me enough to
I
get
hope
me
there's magnesium
somewhere.
in here.
What did you say?
I'm like, I hope there's enough magnesium in here. Because magnesium is depleted in our soils. Just
That's good to know. Another PSA here. You heard it here first. Death is a part of life. There's not enough magnesium in our soil, and you're right on time. I kind of wish I'd known about the balsamic phase earlier, then I would probably have not
But
struggled so much.
that's what I'm saying is like this piece of astrology is such a beautiful gem. It's like such a hidden piece of astrology that I think like the people that are really deep, only the people that are deep into it, I feel like know about it. But then again, I
Overlooked.
didn't know about the grind set, so really I'm one behind.
No, I don't think it's talked about as much, which I'm like, I don't get it because I'm obsessed with the moon phases. You can look
Yeah,
outside and see them, and
yeah,
they're just a beautiful representation of the cycles of life.
right.
Period. Linz, here are yours.
This is wild that you underline this balsamic phase. I'm feeling it. Can I tell you what I did last night in this house? So it
Yes.
is, what year is it? It is 2025.
2025.
So I'm nearing the end of the balsamic. That makes freaking so much sense. I walked around my house and I was like thanking my house because I've had a really hard time the last since 2023. I got moved out of my previous house. I'm in this new space that I did not want to be here at all. And it has been nonstop death and decay since 2023. I'm not even exaggerating. I am in a situation and I know that I'm supposed to be here to be cleaning up. I'm like in a space where I'm like physically cleaning up this old house and I'm emotionally cleaning up the past and I am like in a figurative cleaning up, alchemizing the past, thinking about everything, but it's so final. And I went around the house last night and I was like thanking the house for like allowing me to end this phase.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Right. Is
I
that?
remember like earlier this year, I was just texting you about this,
Yeah,
and you're like, how much longer my balsamic phase? And I was like, April 2026, and you're like,
I do
and
remember
now
that,
it's
but
close.
I didn't know the depth of what you were saying. I didn't know this.
You didn't know what I was saying.
I knew like it was bad, but when you're in a balsamic phase, you're just getting through. Wait,
Yeah.
this is. So crazy. And
right?
I know I'm gonna move, so this feels
Yeah.
2019 was a big year for me. So third quarter. That was like actually July 29th specifically, like I announced a new relationship on social media
Oh my
that exact
God.
day. Like that literal exact day, which is also my dad's birthday. That's all the only reason I know that.
Whoa.
I like on that day. That's so cool. And that was a big relationship for me, like a huge deal for me. A really beautiful, like a really safe, beautiful relationship that helped me clean up the past, but also like gave me hope for the future.
Did it feel like it was like different than your other
Yeah.
relationships?
It was like me feeling safe again,
Mm, that's
which is kind of
beautiful.
cool. So third quarter, that's like halfway. That makes sense. It feels like a halfway mark. Like I had one foot in the past and I had one foot in the present relationship. Like I had one foot, like, you know, figuring out what happened in past relationships, and then this person like helped bring me across the line. That's wild. Okay, so now I just have to prepare for April 1st, 2041.
We're in preparation. April 1st, 2041.
We'll
There's
just
like,
thank God that I don't have a balsamic phase for the next 20 years. Like that is
yeah, it's kind of
beautiful.
hard. It's like beautiful, but I mean, all the phases I'm sure are hard in their own ways. And now I'm like, oh, I'm starting over. I can like experience all of them and not be
Mm,
like a child.
right, right.
But yeah, my sister at almost the same date that I started my new moon, she started her full moon.
Oh,
And I explained this to
whoa.
her.
How wild that you guys are a direct reflection, right? Like the dark and the full light, and you're doing that dance of opposites.
And we have opposite sun signs.
It's all in the signs. It's
It's
all in
all
the
in the signs. So today might be the day, according to improv. You might be able to make today the day, but also it might not be. And the
Hmm.
astrology can help you understand whether today is the day or today's not the day. And you're always on time. Lean
Yeah.
into where you are in the moment with the knowledge that things will change and they will move forward eventually. Maybe in 15 years if you're in your progress new moon
Maybe for Abby
phase.
and I, it's 2041 for our full moon. For
Yeah, check back with us in 2041. We're actually going to be launching this podcast in 2041.
it just feels so safe. I'm like, oh yeah, I have time. What year is it?
Right?
2025? I got it like 20 years.
It just is so beautiful because we're always like, oh, you only have your youth, especially as like women. Again, I could
For
talk about this forever,
sure.
but it's like you're only worth something when you're young. And it's like, girl, I haven't even hit my full moon phase yet.
Think about the matrilineal whales, how they are the only species. We have to cut this out. You know how women go through menopause and they're saying like that's good for the generation because you have wise women. We are valuable as we age and know
Hmm.
how to help the next generation. And anyway, whales are the same. So whales
Wow.
have grandma whales, and they
Grandma
help
whales.
multiple generations. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
Trust where you are. Trust yourself and trust.
Today could be the day that changes everything if you're in the flow of your life.
Yes, you can make peace with where you are and look towards the future. Yeah, just trust yourself, trust your timing.
Hmm.
It's all working out on time.
And knowing your timing is helpful.
It's helpful because you don't have to know. You can just be in it and be like struggling like I was, or you can like know a little bit and be like,
Hmm.
okay, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, here's the bowling alley lines, the bumpers.
Yes. See, this is why you're perfect for for this. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me, Linz. Thank
Yeah,
you, everyone who's listened to this. If you want to check out more of our episodes, we've got
yeah.
some really exciting ones coming up. You can
Hmm.
follow us on Instagram. I think we're going to start a Patreon at some point, but
Yeah.
do all the things, the like, subscribe, comment, whatever. If you want to
Mhm.
hear more from us, we love collaborating and getting new episode ideas. So feel free to
Yeah,
give us your thoughts. And if you want to book a session with me, please
do
do.
it. And we love you.
We love you.
Okay, love you.
Bye.
Bye.